Subscribe to Feminism in India for your dose of intersectional feminist content and make sure to hit the bell icon to get all the latest updates.
The word cancer is a scary one. It immediately brings to mind a very fragile physical state and even a lot of suffering. But did you know that there are some things we can do to minimize our risk of developing certain kinds of cancers? Cervical cancer is one such cancer which is largely preventable. About 99% of cases of cervical cancer are linked to infection because of the high-risk human papillomavirus. It is an extremely common virus transmitted through sexual contact. Now, we don't mean to scare you, but cervical cancer is the fourth most common cancer among women. In 2018, an estimated 570,000 women worldwide were diagnosed with it, and about 311,000 even died as a consequence. As happens with most things related to the female body, cervical cancer has its own share of myths and stigma surrounding it. So today, let's take some time out to bust these myths that we should have clarified like yesterday. HPV is rare and only affects promiscuous people who have multiple sexual partners. According to the WHO, HPV is the most common viral infection of the reproductive tract, and most sexually active people are likely to be infected by it at some point in their lives. Cervical cancer is hereditary. Unlike certain types of cancer, cervical cancer is not really hereditary. It is caused by an HPV infection which can be contracted by anyone who is sexually active. You cannot have a baby if you have had cervical cancer. Although treatment of cervical cancer can imply getting a hysterectomy or radiation to the pelvic area, there are certain technologies that can help people reproduce later, such as freezing the eggs or surgically removing the ovaries so that they do not come in contact with radiation. You do not need to get screened unless you're already showing certain symptoms. A regular screening or health checkup is advisable not only to identify cervical cancer but also to identify any other abnormality in the body. An abnormal cervical cell may not show symptoms in the initial stages but can still be recognized during a regular screening, and that will help us take immediate measures and prevent the cancer from worsening. If you have HPV, you will certainly develop cervical cancer. That's not entirely true. There are over 100 types of HPV, of which about 14 are the ones with actual potential to cause cancer. These are known as high-risk HPV. Now, I know this sounds extremely scary, but just for a little bit of good news, cervical cancer is also one of the most successfully treated cancers, especially if detected at an early stage. But you know what they say, prevention is always better than cure. Cervical cancer can actually be prevented from developing even before we get a formal diagnosis of it. And this is where we need to talk about the HPV vaccine. HPV vaccines are safe to use, effective in preventing infections, and reduce the likelihood of developing chronic HPV infections by about 90%. The HPV vaccine is most effective when taken before a person starts engaging in any sexual activity. This is why the WHO strongly recommends that girls between the age of 9 to 14 get the vaccine. Sources like Planned Parenthood also suggest that if we haven't gotten the vaccine within that age group, we can also get it up to the age of 45. However, many other sources strongly recommend that we get the vaccine before the age of 26 itself. I know, the HPV vaccine sounds amazing, but it's not a treatment for HPV-related infections which have already developed, nor is it a substitute for regular screening and health checkups. In male bodies, while HPV may not cause cervical cancer, it can still cause other types of cancers such as cancer of the mouth and throat. Moreover, they can contract the virus, be asymptomatic, and still be carriers of the infection. So to engage in safe sexual activity and make sure that they're not transmitting the infection to anyone else through anal and penile sex, they too should get the HPV vaccine. The sad thing is that not many people know that cervical cancer is actually preventable. And that's why we need a really strong curriculum of comprehensive sexuality education so that young people can be made aware of their health and their lives. So now that we are more informed about our health and about cervical cancer, the next step we have to take is fairly obvious. Stop avoiding your family doctor and get that vaccine. It's good to use this knowledge to make sure that we are doing all that we can to be our healthiest and happiest selves. If you liked today's video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Feminism in India, your one-stop station for all things intersectional feminist.